Schneider Electric is obviously a very well-known company within the data center industry. Tell us and tell everybody who's going to see this about your role within Schneider itself.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob McKernan, and I'm the Senior Vice President of our Secure Power / Data Center Division, responsible for Europe. I've been in this role based here in Paris for the last 5 years. Previously, I had the same role responsible for North and South America. So that puts me in the data center world for the last 20 plus years and seeing all the evolutions and the changes that we've gone through, which has been very exciting, never a dull moment, so to speak.
Before we get into today, can you tell me more about the company's history and the journey through to now?
Schneider Electric, we're the leader in the digital transformation of energy management and automation. And when you think of what that means, sustainability has been at the base and the forefront of that transformation now for many years. Specifically, the division that I work in focused on the data center, focused on IT and really critical infrastructure of any side, whether it's the large cloud data centers that we have, as well as smaller corporate data centers, or what we call edge data centers. So we, as part of our solution, we have all the electrical infrastructure, low voltage, UPSs, we have the mechanical infrastructure, so cooling, chillers, crack units. We have what I would say is the software layer, so the data center operations with our EcoStruxure platform. And then finally, we help our customers and we wrap around any and many different types of services to ensure the operation of that data center. Schneider got started in this, I would say, through the acquisition of APC back in 2007, which I was a part of. And that helped create, along with some parts that were already inside of Schneider Electric, that helped create our secure power division. And I can tell you, as I mentioned, I've been part of this now for 20 plus years. You know, back then we were talking with financial institutes that were building not even a 0.5 megawatt size data center, and that was considered big in 2007. We were doing a lot of corporate data centers, and then obviously the build out of the cloud really started accelerating when I was working in North America 7-8 years ago, and now it's growing quite well throughout the world. And I would say we're kind of at the epicenter here in Europe. And I would say that the nice thing about Schneider is we have that perspective. We have the management, we have the operational piece, we have all the equipment that goes into a data center build from an electrical and mechanical. You know, we've always been talking about things like PUE. So we've always been an advocate of measuring how well your data center is doing from an efficiency standpoint. So moving that into more of a sustainability metrics and looking at your data center for sort of a sustainability perspective has been quite a natural evolution. And I think we were starting to do that even before we were using the word sustainability in many ways. But now we're having here in Europe, again, the leading conversations around carbon neutrality, around the removal of gas, the issue of water, and really, you know, kind of focusing on what we want to do, you know, what the industry is looking to do here is net zero sort of operational by 2030. When this industry puts its mind to some targets, usually is successful in reaching those targets.
I really appreciate you taking us through like that. I want to push you for a couple of quick comebacks, like sound bites here, just to sort of see what you say. 3 things. First of all, about you. You already explained your role, but how would you say your previous work experiences prepared you for the role you have now? And then 2 more about Schneider.
I think what's been interesting, when I came to Europe 5 years ago, I had that experience of running the North American and South American business. So I had an experience of a very mature market in US and Canada, and a very much of a developing market throughout Central and South America. So when you look at the diversity here in Europe, there's 57 countries that I'm responsible for. When you always hear of the acronym FLAP, Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris, which has been really the historical center for data centers here. The more interesting part is the connectivity part of data centers. And just look at my last 4 business trips, and all due to the build out of data centers Warsaw, Tel Aviv, Athens, and Milan. So nowhere near the flap country. So I think more than prepared here, seeing this evolution once in North America and now experiencing it through slightly different lens, but a lot of similarities here in Europe. But again, the word sustainability was not used quite frequently, though now it's very much in the forefront of our discussions, if not the first thing that we talk about.
Would you say this is part of the trend towards emerging regional centers? Do you see that happening based on geographical considerations, motivated by sustainability?
The easy answer is yes. I don't think it's motivated only by sustainability. I think that there is a desire to become closer to customers. There is latency discussions for future technologies that force, again, getting closer to customers. I think there's data requirements that dictate that they expand their coverage into different countries. And then, yes, I think sustainability, especially when you see where can you build a data center that is more sustainable in terms of energy procurement, let's say, or other abilities, to utilize wind and again, the procurement of renewables versus some of the historic areas not quite as adept at that.
Okay, back to the quick fires. How would you describe the sustainability ethos at Schneider Electric?
At Schneider Electric, sustainability is and has been part of our DNA. I would say that we're very proud we were named part of Corporate Knight's Most Sustainable Corporation in 2021. But I think that's a testament, sort of what our ethos is we want to help customers make the most of their energy, the most of their resources. We've been talking to customers about efficiency, reliability, and sustainability, all through digitization and electrification. So again, it's not something new to us in 2022. It's been part of us now for many, many years.
Now that Schneider is kind of an old hand at building and maintaining a corporate sustainability culture, what have been the things that you'd warn other companies to watch out for, but also the benefits that you use to sell them on it?
Yeah, I would say there's two things that come to mind. Number one, it's top-down driven. Like anything, it comes from the CEO through his leadership team, and then the top 100 leaders. When we get together, we're really focused on this, not as the fifth KPI on a sheet, but really talking about how we drive sustainability within our organization. And then secondly, I think we have a real focus on the measurement of this. We've been measuring this now for multiple years in measuring our improvement on each of our facilities, each of our manufacturing plants, very aggressively looking at our suppliers, because as you know, we're a very hardware-centric organization still. So how our suppliers, and then we're working with helping our suppliers. So we realize it's not just one or two things we can do ourselves. We realize we have to do it throughout everyone we touch, both our suppliers right on through our customers. So we take that mentality when we go talk to our customers, whether they're building a building or a manufacturing facility, or in my case, a data center.
So what can you tell me about your data center sustainability framework that you guys just put out, and how that affects the data center industry?
It's interesting. I was at when we were traveling back in November, I was on a panel with a couple of data center operators, contractor, and we were talking about each of our companies' focuses on sustainability. And you quickly realize that everyone is going about this a little bit differently. Everyone is trying to measure what it means. We felt that one of the key challenges is that we've never really had a standard set of environmental metrics that we can report on them, both here in Europe and really throughout the globe. Everyone's sort of doing that a little differently. So we had in our data center science center, we had a team that really looked at what are those metrics. What are they today, or what should they be today? What can we really help influence, say, tomorrow, meaning in the short term? And what are some that longer term? But how can we set goals or embed ESG into the business strategy and the operation of this data center? We believe that if we can get to a world where we have sort of this standard set of metrics, and we believe this is really, really important for meeting some of the goals that are out there, but also we think it's just good business sense. We realize a lot of companies aren't sort of either not measuring their environmental footprint, or really don't know how to, or maybe not getting the full functionality of some of the things they can. I think it's really interesting. So we put these metrics, we're putting this white paper out to really help set a framework for, that can empower this industry to kind of take more of a consistent, measurable action. So they see where they are today, they can measure where they are tomorrow in their existing data center. They can use this to help with the new builds that obviously should be a lot better than sort of the ones that were built 3-4 years ago, and really start to take a little holistic proof of that. We've been seeing through 451, 97% of customers are asking for sustainability commitments, contractual sustainability commitments. So if they're not starting this process of measurement, very quickly they're going to get asked to do that. And so getting a little framework around that is really, really important to us.
Yeah, I mean, this comes up a huge amount in, how do people track corporate sustainability reports? And I think one of the big ones is, and you can probably give us some practical insight here of the effect that having some standardized sustainability metrics helps internally, as well as being able to converse with other companies. How does it help drive the alignment actually within Schneider itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The old adage, if you're not measuring it, you really don't know what's going on. But with this white paper, like I said, we've introduced a framework, and I think there's 23 metrics. And what I like about it, we have the beginning, the advanced, and leading, sort of, the longer term view. And we've been doing that inside of our buildings and inside of our manufacturing facilities now for a few years, where we started with the base measurements that were maybe easy to sort of find ourselves, and then really move to say, okay, that alone is sort of your framework for understanding, are you in good shape, bad shape, or really bad shape? But if you don't advance it, then it really becomes it. So inside of a confines of a data center, we obviously have energy use. We obviously have metrics around greenhouse gas, waste, water, land, biodiversity. So we're trying to cover it. Again, when you start getting into some of those other, energy use theoretically should be fairly easy. But when you start getting into some of those other pieces, it gets a little bit more complex when you're going down on how to measure it. And I hope that we start this conversation with these metrics, and then I think the industry will help define where the standard is today, and of course, where we need to move to. And then that becomes more of a conversation, because I'm often saying that there's not one company that's going to be the end all. I think we need to have a collaboration inside this industry and work on these challenges together. And I think Schneider is going to have and should have one of the main seats at such a table, but really working with operators, working with the internet giants, all of us working together to be successful. And by the way, we're having those types of conversations quite readily with a lot of that ecosystem, and it's a very open conversation, and one that people are happy to kind of participate in and share information on. It's very open in that regard.
Again, it's a topic on which that you just hear universal calls for, I wish we could have more discussion about it. That's unusual. That makes you sort of, we're right on the beginning of something. The next decade is gonna, the changes are going to accelerate.
Well, it's interesting, and I'll touch upon that. You have this massive change with sustainability. And here in Europe, you have a massive growth of cloud adoption. We've experienced massive growth, but there is, from every statistic, there is massive growth to come, that we're just touching the beginning of the cloud adoption here in Europe. So there's a lot of growth that's going to come with a lot of building of data centers. That sparks an ecosystem, whether it's a new city or whether it's the existing cities, which also will drive edge deployments of IT. And, if you look at sustainability of a data center, or you look at sustainability of an IT infrastructure of a company, multiple things there. And I think there's, so the complexity, when you take sort of those three vectors, if you will, there's a lot of work to be done. But again, I think we're sitting in the right spot here in Europe to meet these challenges.
I don't know if this is within or just outside Schneider's purview, but like, there's also a lot to be done at the edge, at the last mile of connectivity, to make that more efficient in basically every industry. But it looks like that's actually starting to happen.
Yeah, we focus on the edge. We focus on that physical infrastructure, the electrical availability, reliability. A lot of times that edge is going to be personless, meaning it's going to be a standalone edge. It's automated completely. And so how do you handle that in a sustainable way? That, again, it's a very good point. Again, we do see it really occurring here in Europe.
What's coming up now for Schneider Electric for the next 12 to 18 months? What can we look forward to?
It's exciting, right? So if you look at those dynamics I just say, you know, a big build out of the cloud, you have a real need to drive sustainability. I think that's the overarching thing. The second area is there's certainly, you know, we want to focus on the adoption of these sustainability metrics and really drive that conversation, because we obviously believe that sustainability is going to continue to be on the forefront of our clients' agenda. And how do we help them meet their business needs in a responsible, sustainable way, without sacrificing availability, without sacrificing reliability, without sacrificing IT efficiency? All those things have to come into play. So we see the data center of the future continuing to evolve, you know, sustainable, efficient, adaptive, which is going to be key, and of course need to be resilient.
Which companies are part of Schneider Electric's partner ecosystem, and how does Schneider work with those companies, and in what ways would you describe their working relationship with you yourself?
Schneider has grown up for many, many years as a company that's always believed in sort of that partner ecosystem. So that's a really great question. We work directly with a lot of data center design and build and engineering consultancy type firms to try to help influence those designs, those more sustainable designs. We certainly have, for our hardware portfolio, we certainly have an ecosystem of IT as well as electrical distributors, resellers, system integrators. A lot of those firms are working with clients for their edge application. And I think the big one, we work a lot with what I would say is the IT technology leaders. So you have Cisco, you have Dell, HP, Lenovo. We work with our sister company Aviva on designs as well. So ensure that, again, as they work with their clients, how can we help them with doing that in a more sustainable, more reliable, more available way? And we're doing a lot of that work with healthcare, public sector, life science, pretty much all of that. And I spend a lot of my personal time actually with this partner ecosystem. And it's all about working with existing partners, but also who are the partners that are out there doing some interesting things that, you know, Schneider Electric can partner with.
Brilliant. Right, Rob, thanks so much.
It's nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
You too. Take care.